As much as we would like it to be so, life does not guarantee that the wellspring of our intellect and talent will be passed forward onto our children, nor that they will share our passions and follow in our footsteps. But it is out of unconditional love for our children that we accept that although they may not share our path, they are free to chart their own to fulfillment and happiness. This is true even for the greatest of minds among us, and is illustrated beautifully in this letter from Albert Einstein to his 11-year-old son, Hans Albert. One cannot pass through life without hearing of his name. Albert Einstein was a phenomenon, an intellectual comet that shook our world, and one of the very few in history who walked alone rather than standing on the shoulders of giants. His theories not only shaped our modern understanding of physics and the world around us, but unlocked new innovative possibilities that had never, ever been conceived. Yet, he was also a human being, vulnerable, like you and I, to the full spectrum of human emotion, and dealing with more than his fair share of pain and loss. Written just days before he published his general theory of relativity, you might think that at the time in which this letter was being composed, Einstein would have been at his peak, his place about to be firmly cemented in the history books. On the surface, this scientific genius had it all, but while he may have been rich in intellectual ability, he was desperately poor in the relationships between him and those that mattered most to him, his sons. Einstein tragically lost his first child when he was just 1 year of age, and after the separation between him and his wife, his two sons moved away with his wife to Zurich while he stayed in war-torn Berlin. While his youngest son, Edward, suffered with great ill health and would later become diagnosed with schizophrenia, his oldest son, Hans Albert, suffered greatly with the separation of his parents, and it is him which Einstein writes to in this letter. In it, we see Einstein not as the scientific magnate for which he was known, but as a father wrestling to capture his son's attention, who was then seemingly drifting out of his control due to the disillusion of his marriage. A father desperate to connect with his son. A father like any other who was determined to express his love. He writes, "My dear Albert, yesterday I received your letter and was very happy with it. I was already afraid you wouldn't write to me at all anymore. You told me when I was in Zurich that it is awkward for you when I come to Zurich. Therefore, I think it is better if we get together in a different place where nobody will interfere with our comfort. I will, in any case, urge that each year we spend a whole month together, so that you can see that you have a father who is fond of you and who loves you. You can also learn many good and beautiful things from me, something another cannot as easily offer you. What I have achieved through such a lot of strenuous work shall not be there for strangers, but especially for my own boys. These days, I have completed one of the most beautiful works of my life. When you are bigger, I will tell you all about it. I am very pleased that you find joy with the piano. This and carpentry are, in my opinion, for your age, the best pursuits. better even than school. Mainly play the things on the piano which please you, even if the teacher does not assign those. That is the way to learn the most, that when you are doing something with such enjoyment that you don't notice that the time passes. I love this letter because it shows a deeply intimate human side to the scientist that is unanimously known for his scientific theories. There is a certain sadness to the fact that a man who opened and expanded the minds of so many is struggling just to get through to his own son. You can feel the pain in his words grip you as he is almost forced to justify his presence in his son's life, to justify his value as a father, that he can teach him beautiful things, that he can be the role model he looks up to, and that while the knowledge he creates may be for the world at large, it is most importantly for him. Admiration from the world, therefore, meant little to Einstein without admiration from his own son. At the same time, we see Einstein's love for his son beautifully expressed in this letter. The disciplines of music and science could not be more different. But not only does Einstein take a firm interest in his son's joy with the piano, he's telling him to totally engross in it, to absorb in it to the extent that he loses track of time passing, just as he had when working on his scientific theories. Einstein's letter teaches us all an important lesson, that even for one of the greatest minds of our time, with all the success he garnered, nothing moves the soul more powerfully than the innate human desire to connect with one's children. And no expression of love is purer than the recognition that they must forge their own path. Albert Einstein with a letter for the ages.